Hey everyone, this is Stefan from Project Life Mastery, and this is my girlfriend Tatiana from Lux Health. And today we're super excited to introduce you guys to Garry and Anela Lineham here in Venice, California. They're the founders of the Human Garage, which is a spot that we've been visiting for the last month or so, getting a lot of amazing treatment from them. And we've had an amazing experience, just meeting Garry and Anela and your guys' team and what you guys do. It's really been transformational for us. And as you guys know that follow myself and Tatiana, anything that's made an impact in our life that's benefited us, we're passionate about and we want to share that. So we really believe in what you guys are doing. I know you guys have an amazing story to share, but I'd love to pick your guys' brain today and just share with people how they can better align their body and mind, how they can fix their posture, how they can fix a lot of pain that's going on in their body. And I know there's a lot of different levels that we can explore with that.
We're going to go through lots of levels, I'm sure.
Yeah. So do you guys want to maybe share with people a little bit about yourselves, your story, and how you guys founded the Human Garage?
Sure. I guess the story is a good one. That's it. So this is the first time we've ever been on camera interviewed together.
Cool.
Oh, wow.
So we've purposely set the media apart because of the mission and where we're going. But one of the things was we tell the story. People always ask, how'd you meet? So we met on Craigslist.
Wow.
I just love the reaction. It just draws up with people. It's like, because what do you do on Craigslist? They say, is there personals there? No, not really. So I had a clinic, a series of clinics with called the Rubenstein Center, and we had Orange County and Beverly Hills, and we had clients that were coming from Malibu. And LA is a kind of a funny place because if something's too far, people just don't want to drive. And so they wouldn't drive from Malibu into Beverly Hills, so I needed a place to meet them in between. And the one day that she was working at a studio, a yoga studio in Santa Monica, and she had posted the ad for the space, and we walked in there. It was only up for one day. And so we went in there, and we started talking about what we're doing. The synergy started happening, and 6 months later we were married.
Wow,
Yes, amazing.
Hi, my name is Anela, and I will tell my story now. So actually everything was kind of set in motion prior from, meeting with Garry. As I moved from New York to LA, I started working at the studio and taking care of managing, and I just realized that my body was breaking down. All these years I was very proud to be so strong, and I can sleep 4 hours a night and I can run 13 miles and I'm so good. I can work really hard till I moved to LA. So when that happened, I guess my life started slowing down, and I started feeling aches and pains all over my body. I mean, lower back. I would just wake up every morning. I would have these body aches. And I'm teaching 3-4 classes a week, kickboxing, cardio. And I said, well, this is not okay. If I am feeling this, I wonder how my, students are feeling. So I started investigating a little bit more into my own self. But I just started praying, and I said, oh, I need some help. I need somebody to fix me. I can't have another surgery since I already had a knee surgery. So when I put this ad, I created this intention that I would really need some kind of like hands-on, a person to really tell me what to do and heal me holistically, because that had happened in the past. I had same experiences, so I know that it worked. I set intention, I put this ad, next thing you know, Garry was there with
walked through the door,
and then they put me on a massage table first thing, and I can just feel my whole body was letting go, and I didn't even realize how bad I was. Even though I was practicing yoga, I was eating healthy, I was doing lots of spiritual work. I mean, everything you asked for, I was doing it, but then my body was not showing me that. So when I met Garry, it was like a dream come true. I just realized there's so much, that we're able to create. I mean, just from that desperation, I guess, to get better, I manifested him to come into my life. Not only that he fixed me physically, and we joke about, because I like to be physically active, I said, well, I don't know if I will be able to afford you, so I may marry you.
Perfect.
Smart move.
Exactly, and that's how Human Garage
Wow.
started.
The power of intention.
Power
We
of
started with an
intention.
intention. She grew up her whole life knowing that somehow she's going to affect the world in a positive way. And, ironically, I had the same vision my whole life. We're both at it from different angles. She had been working at it from a yoga, breath work, spirituality standpoint. And I was forced into it just in my own problems, my own physical pain. A lot of people have pain, and it gets worse and worse as we get older, typically. Mine was at the point where I had 20 years of pain at this point, and it was somewhere between a 4 and a 9 pain every day. Wow. And you just kind of get used to being in pain, and with moments that it just peaks. And those moments that it peaks is when you start looking for other things. And that's what forced me into, I've been in care since the early 80s, when I fell under a squat, which was 600 pounds. Sorry, the late 80s. Sorry. I have been in care of some sort 2 to 3 to 4 times a week my entire adult life. And that was how we got together, and we set the intention. It was funny because you asked about the business aspect of it, and we really sat down after we had figured out how to fix me and get me out of pain. And then we were helping other people. We had hundreds of people coming to us. And I sat from a business perspective and said, this is not a business. You can't make money like this. But we're helping people, so let's just continue. And we did, and that's what formed Human Garage.
Wow.
Exactly.
And we did start in a garage.
Yeah.
And my lovely wife gave up her 900 square foot apartment for 18 months for 300 people a month to transit through it.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, you can only do that in Venice Beach.
Yeah, totally.
If we were to do this in Vancouver, people would laugh at us.
Yeah.
But if
Or
I
New
just-
York.
Yes,
And-
if I could add one more thing, like intention again, when we got together, we sit down and we created a board and we started writing everything down. At that time, from where we were at the moment, it was kind of like, wow, that's a big dream to have it. How are we going to make it? And everything that we have put down on that piece of paper, I mean, from
The most bizarre
the most
things.
bizarre
Yeah.
things, everything manifested.
For sure.
And I'm just getting chills because that's just telling us how much power we contain, each one of us. And I just, want to bring that to people's attention when we feel like desperate and we feel in a place that of a victim consciousness. It can be moved and shifted really intentionally very fast. So just make a decision, and whatever you want to have, you can make it happen.
Totally. That's
Amazing.
awesome.
Great message.
Do you want to share with people just what the Human Garage is? And you guys do so many different things there. A lot of people, they come to you because they've got back pain or shoulder pain or whatever it might be, but you guys transform people. You don't just solve that specific problem. You guys address the root cause of it, and you guys have a lot of different practices and things that you guys do. So you want to maybe share with people a little bit about the Human Garage?
Sure. I think the first and the most important word that sets us apart is alignment. And alignment is not just physical, but people think it is. So when they come in with a physical issue, there's a translation from that issue into emotional, into spiritual, into their diet. And if we're not able to look at the entire body as one unit, then we're going to miss a lot of things. So Human Garage is really taking a look at what alignment means in every aspect of that person's life. And that's a lot about what you've been doing yourself. You're helping people realize how to set goals and use intention and keep themselves aligned to their goals and their thought process. And we're just taking, and what you're doing from the idea of the goal setting, the intention, helping people move through their lives that way, we're actually getting their bodies ready to do the same thing. Because when our bodies and our minds work clear and they're not fighting each other, it's amazing what happens. And that's really what we set out with the intention, just to help people physically. And we noticed that along the lines that they were having changes that were not physical at all. They were emotional, spiritual, more conscious awareness of who they are, people coming back with life-transforming experiences. And when you see this happen 1 or 2 or 3 times as a practitioner, you think, wow, that's pretty cool. But when you see it happen thousands of times over and over again, and it's consistent, then you know that you're actually making an impact. And that's where we decided to change the focus. The Human Garage was based around the process of releasing muscles or tension in muscles at the time to help people stand and walk without pain or discomfort. And as we started realizing that there's a truth to every modality that's out there, we have allopathic medicine, naturopathic medicine, chiropractic, we have all these different modalities, and they all have some truth. And what we've learned now is that truth in each one of those modalities really goes a long way to help support us in helping that person in the transition. And so we actually access things, lots of thought process in Chinese medicine, meridian medicine. We use reflexology. We use neurology, and as you've seen, the fascial work that we do, and then the alignment work, where it all started. And as there are more things come on, like this year we have dance and movement programs with Stephanie Roos, who's one of Madonna's creative director. We've got Dr. Berman coming on to do sex and relationship therapy, counseling, and just everything that you can think of that makes somebody's life better. And that's why I love what you guys are doing so much. Because that's exactly what you're doing.
Great alignment here.
Great alignment.
So I have to mention, so when we go in there, say I go in because my shoulders were hurting, my neck's hurting. I go into your space and I say, well, I've got some neck pain, and it's not like I'm walking into a chiropractic office and then they're fixing me. It's a totally different experience. It's, you walk in there, first of all, it smells amazing. There's just amazing smell. There's crystals everywhere.
Sure crystals and oils are everywhere.
And then there's the breathwork classes, there's the chiropractor who's there, there's massage therapists, there's the fascia flow. So you guys are really incorporating everything. You're not fixing one part of the body, you're fixing the whole body. So if you can kind of dive into that, and how you can't just alienate one part of the body and say, okay, let me focus on that part and that's going to be fixed on its own. You focus on the root cause of it.
So why don't we start off with chemistry? And interestingly enough, I say this all the time, we have probably the largest base of non-sick tested people in the world, because we test everybody that comes through the door with lab work, so that, as you've seen, our treatment moves the body so fast that the body has to be able to adapt and assimilate the work. And so we need basic metrics and lab work to make sure that people's bodies can handle it. And so our whole biochem team, we started the biochem, and I'm going to hand it off to her. We started the biochem side of it because we had clients whose were not getting results, and there was no reason for them not to get a result. So we said there has to be more to it. And we finally found a piece of a science. It was fairly obscure, and it was buried in the 70s and 80s. And we revitalized the science, and we started using it. And so we've had 3,500 lab tests that we've done on people.
Wow. And
the results are scary, and she is sat on almost every one of those
calls. Is that the saliva and the urine tests and everything?
Yes. Okay. And actually, I was the first client or patient that got tested, because, as I mentioned, taking this journey of self-healing and self-realization brought us to this testing mechanism. And I can comfortably say that pretty much saved my life. Or, if I didn't catch what I was able to adjust through this period, I'm not sure if I would be even here, sitting with you and having this podcast recorded, because originally I'm from Bosnia. So I spent some time during the war in Bosnia, and I didn't even realize that I was suffering from PTSD. And, there was a lot of interesting things that was accumulating for like past 30 years that eventually, when my body physically, I broke down, but I didn't understand what was happening to me chemically. So when I got tested, the person who was reading my test was really kind of like interested. He
actually called and said, hey, "Is she okay?" Because it was that far off.
That was, and I started feeling.
That being said, going to normal allopathic medicine at the time would generally say she was healthy, which they're really saying is she wasn't sick yet. And so she was, when we
But I was on the way.
Yes.
I could definitely feel, you can tell your body is the best, a way to tell you what you feel. So anyway, I just look back now 4 years, and I said, thank God I didn't know what I know today, because, I could see a lot of brain trauma. I could see, that adrenals were not working, digestion was not working, oxidative stress was extremely high. So all these signs, when we talk about biochemistry, are actually leading towards some serious diseases.
And so what happens is that the chemistry affects the way that our body works. It affects the way that our brain works, and it affects the way that we move, our muscles work, etc. So chemistry is also affected, through our organs. And we don't really, we spent all this time thinking about the human body one way, when it's really not the way we thought. It's like, if I use this example all the time, if you thought the earth was round, can you imagine, or flat? Can you imagine what would happen when the Earth is proven to be round? It changes the perception of the way that you look at everything. And so the discoveries that we had about the human body were as profound as the Earth is no longer flat. And taking people through this, we realized that chemistry was affecting the way that their moods were. So like if someone's liver is not working or overworking, they're going to be agitated or frustrated. If their kidneys are not working, they're going to be sad. If their adrenals aren't working, depressed. They're going to be fearful. If their gallbladder's not working, they're going to be indecisive. And natural medicine, and even back to the ancient Egyptians, they used to take all the body parts, all the organs, and put them in a separate jar. And they did that on purpose because they were actually removing each one of them and treated them all separately, including the brain. They never give one organ preference or reference, or they never gave its status over another one. They were all equal. And if we go back to that mindset, say they're all equal, then they all work together. We have this traditional model that medicine, that we are a brain with a meat suit. You know, and it's funny because Lady Gaga wore a meat suit. You think that's the most famous meat suit. And, you know, and I know she has a lot of troubles right now in her back. And people find their way to the human garage when they're ready.
Well, that's another thing too, because, you know, sometimes people don't realize how bad they are, like their bodies are, how poor they're actually feeling until they reach this next level of optimal health. So sometimes, you know,
or the other way.
Or the other way,
until
right?
They break down.
And exactly. So that's why it's good to get these tests done, and so the urine and the saliva testing is
we do that
important.
as a health test. It's really good for people to do. What's happened is this: we've forgotten how to, and not taught our children how to take care of their bodies. We don't know what it feels like. We've abdicated our right to understand our bodies to medical professionals, and we go to them when we're sick or broke. And it just doesn't make sense. I mean, would you do that with a car? You know, your brakes aren't failed yet, but oh, they failed now, let's go to the garage and fix them. You don't do that. You do preventative treatments on your car. Why? What, to protect the value of the car and your health. So what about the value of our vehicle and our health? And so as we started looking through the aspects of chemistry and how it affected neurology and how it affected mechanics, we realized that you couldn't have one without the other. You either treat the entire body, or you're actually better off not to treat the body.
Interesting.
Because what happens is that, and this is one of the things that comes down with people that come from traditional modalities, come in and just fix my neck, okay, fix your neck. Well, we're going to just trade that problem for another one, and you do that long enough, it's going to cause a cascading series of problems, making the origin of your original function harder to find. And that's been the biggest challenge for us, is getting people to understand that thought process.
Well, I mean, I've been to chiropractors, I've been to different body workers, and a variety of different skill sets, I guess you could say, to try to optimize my health. But what I love about you guys is you guys are like the one-stop shop for everything, right?
Everything except for beauty.
That's nice.
But actually that's actually where we're going too.
Yeah, because I mean, and I think one big game changer for me was just the awareness of that. And I think a lot of people that are watching or listening to this right now, they don't have the awareness of it. Like, I didn't realize that my body is constantly in stress all the time, because one of the things that you guys do is they take a picture of you just to show the current alignment of your body, a front view and a side view. And you show, you know, for example, myself, I have one shoulder higher than the other, my hips are misaligned, I've got like a weird torque going on in my body. And so my body's always in stress. Even just kind of standing upright, I'm leaning forward, and my head is putting, I guess the weight of my head is putting pressure on my spine and my neck. And constantly being in that stress, often I think we just kind of we're just so numb to it, you know, and especially when you look at the biomarkers that you guys test with the saliva and the urine.
Can I jump into that
for
a second?
It. Yeah.
So you said something really important, and people need to understand this, is that the job of the brain is to analyze the internal and external environment and adapt us to that environment. So when I was on my cognitive decline from pain and neurological distress, I had 8 concussions, and as I was moving towards this decline, I remember at the very end, the last part, where I was having troubles grabbing words that were meaningful in a business situation. Like, I couldn't remember the word, but that was it. And then one day I couldn't use my computer. And so there isn't a warning when it's neurological, because the job of the brain is to just make it all normal in case it can't change it. And so we don't see the decline, but the people around us are more apt to see it. And this is part of the reflection point, especially when you're talking about guys in our society. This is not broken. It's like a badge of honor. It's not broken. I'm going to keep wearing it,
Well,
right?
guys, girls too, including myself.
Well, this was her issue when we started. It was like I fixed her knee and said, you need to be off it for 3 days. And she feels great.
Yeah.
And then
sure.
she goes off, she teaches a class that afternoon.
Yeah.
And then I break down, and now I have to go back, and this time I really have to kind of get off my knee so that I can heal properly. But I also want to kind of like attach this to another subject, is, you know, talking about biochemistry. I want to come back to that again. When we hear so many diets and so many programs, and everybody, you know, it's giving you something. So just be aware and alert that not every diet is great for everyone. So really, really important, as you know, everybody's saying like, let's be alkaline, get more alkaline, get more alkaline. But what I'm learning too is balance is everything. So, you know, when you get too alkaline, you start creating all kinds of other issues in your body, and you're going to feel it definitely. So, you know, going from one end to another, it's not the answer. And
that's part of the problem.
The best way, what I love, and I'm so passionate about what we do with, you know, with the testing and like kind of educating people, start asking questions, you know, get this test so you know where your biomarkers are, you understand your carbohydrates. I mean, I can be sitting with somebody and, you know, having conversation. I recognize myself in that person, because, you know, if you have a carbohydrates that are really low, then there's not enough food for the brain. So you're going to be lacking words. You're going to be, you know, forgetting things, and you may start conversation and kind of, oh, I don't understand. So people say, okay, you know, no carbs at all. That's another one. It's not for everyone, or
it's not for
like
it's not for everybody all the time either.
Right.
Like what's good for me today doesn't mean it's good for me tomorrow. And that's part of the message that we need to do. And
exactly.
It's re-educating people about how their bodies work. And since we don't have those years with our parents of education, then we have to use mechanisms.
We have Google.
Yeah. So
that's true.
So this testing mechanism we use is really interesting, because if you do it once a quarter, you can see, well, I did this quarter, I ate a certain way, I traveled, here's the end result, and start to mirror the way that my life works with the way that that lab test works. It's a really good way for us to open it up. And by the way, since we have MDs on staff too, we do every test known to mankind. We just found a very, very effective health test, and it's the best one I've ever seen.
It's simple. It's very simple, because you can see your biomarkers, and you can just, looking at it, start correcting your lifestyle. You know, we talk a lot about hydration and, you know, adrenal fatigue. I tested over, you know, 3,000-4,000 people. I'm not exactly sure, but I can say that 99% of people have digestive issues, and it starts earlier.
Well, we actually have some stats on that.
Right.
So right now it's one in 5 people 4 years ago had autoimmune conditions or symptoms. That's skin rashes, eczema, all these cold hands, cold feet, nervous energy, digestive issues. Today it's 1 in 2, and just 4 short years. And in addition to that, 82% of people are dehydrated in our base. National average is 75%. And roughly 90% of our athletes are dehydrated by over-consuming. But the interesting thing about it is that this whole idea that people are coming in with these diagnoses. They're coming in with cholesterol issues, weight issues, hormone issues. These are all linked back to simple things. And we're just medicating people for things that water can fix, literally. And that's part of the issue. I know we wanted to jump into that topic at some point.
Yeah, so I'd love to kind of get your opinion on what's creating a lot of the challenges that people have. You know, I guess we could look at it from different perspectives. I know for the alignment issues that a lot of people have are more immobile today than ever before. We're not moving and active.
Well, let me ask you.
Yeah.
I mean,
perfect example.
I mean, this is your wheelhouse. This is
You're
talking to people about making their lives better, and you're very successful at it. You have 500,000 followers, which is like total rock star. And so, in doing that, though, you know a lot about how the mind works and how to set goals and all this, and you've studied a lot about the body. So, tell me how surprised you were as you came in through this process. What were your experiences that you said, "Wow, I never expected that"?
Well, I think lifestyle is the big source of it, just how we live our lives and the decisions that we make. And I know for myself, I've been able to I've really looked at, okay, from how I'm sleeping and, you know, spending time in front of the computer working and how that's been affecting my body, the stresses that I've gone through throughout my life and exhausting my adrenals from that, to certain food choices, to, you know, even learning that I was in a too alkaline state. And so when I think just for me, it's been investigating all of that and looking at the lifestyle that I've been living and seeing that. And I'm a very active person. I'm into self-improvement, optimizing everything. So I can imagine a lot of people out there that aren't doing the same things.
And don't have access to the resources.
Exactly. And that's
like
one of the reasons why I want to share this as much as I can, my journey, what I learned from this. But, you know, I look at a lot of disease is caused from lifestyle.
Exactly.
You know, and oftentimes a lot of the medical community, they don't want to address that. They just want to put a Band-Aid on it, treat the symptom rather than the root cause, because, you know, if you can change the lifestyle or get more holistic treatment to it, I think you can address that problem a lot better.
So people are moving to genetic testing, and there's a lot of problem with the way that we're looking at health and the human body. Is we're getting so micro, we're going right into finding that there are olfactory nerves in the heart, and we're looking at the different types of gut biome and stuff like that, and we forget about the fact that it all has to work together. And so as the world has been going micro, we're actually taking a step back and going more macro. And we're just looking at, how does it all work together? How do these systems affect each other? How does my neurology affect my mechanics, affects my organs? And we're actually been able to put lab work together, and now with artificial intelligence, we're able to start to see patterns and behaviors that no one else in the world's ever seen. Because we see people 2 hours at a tranche. And there's hardly any place in medicine or healthcare where you see people for more than 15, 20 minutes at a time. And we see this multiple times over and over again. And by doing that, you get a chance to see their behavior, get to see how like treatments affect the way they work in their life. It affects the way that they look, their skin, the way their brain processes. And then we're able to actually make better decisions because we have better information. And it's not about being so intelligent. It's just literally taking a step back and asking the bigger question, why is this all happening? And when we do it that way, we find some pretty crazy answers.
So I like what you said about that, because it also comes down to that awareness again, what we touched on in the beginning. And yes, I came to the Human Garage and I feel better. Like my back is, you know, pain-free. I'm sitting here, it's been about 15 minutes and I can still sit straight, which before I wasn't able to. It really, really hurt me. But I also feel like I got a free education because I learned so much. And now, like Stefan said, you know, I'm aware of the way I'm sleeping. I'm more conscious of the way I'm twisting my body and how this might cause me some pain later down the road. I'm aware of the way that I put my backpack just on one shoulder. I'm aware of the way that I stand, and I stand on one hip. So all of these little things are what contribute to the long-term pains and aches that I may feel. So by switching those things now, it's a preventative measure so that I don't have to suffer through, you know, whatever might come my way down the road.
So we're taught a lot of things that are wrong. You know, one of the biggest myths that I see out there, because people that want to be healthy, we're taught that exercise and eating right is healthy. And that's like putting gas in your car and washing it. But eventually we got to do transmission brakes and tires and stuff like that. And we're not taught how to do it, and we're not taught what it looks like, and we're not taught what it feels like as we're getting into it. And that's why we don't fix things until they're broke, which is completely the wrong way of tackling it. And so you're talking about being preventative. And so, you know, what if even the words that you use on a daily basis affect the way that your mechanics work? You know, we've done this for people. We actually have a little test. Did I show it to you guys?
I think so, yeah.
I did. We did it at the restaurant, right? You want to try that on camera?
Sure.
Okay, so we take your hand and check out your range of motion. And you want to go without being discomfortable. You just want to find out what that natural range is. And say to yourself 3 words. You're not going to repeat these again, but I hate myself, I'm greedy, and I'm selfish. You have to say it.
I hate myself, I'm greedy, and I'm selfish.
And watch the range change. Okay,
Oh,
now I love myself, I'm joyful, and I love helping people.
I love myself, I'm joyful, and I love helping people.
And the range changes automatically. So if we were aware that even the words that I use change the way that my body physically works, that is so far from our thought process that we're not even, that's not even in the same planet, never mind thought process. And what we're trying to do is help people understand that it's all one thing. The words I use, which you're really big at and which you help people, is to change and shift the words that we use. We have a language alignment program. We've been working with vocabulary for about a year now, and we're about to reset out this program so people can actually understand what words they're using. Because funny enough, I used great language when I was at work, but when I got home, it was like all kinds of self-defeating language. Just because I was trained to do it for work. And we, you know, and helping people be aware. So it's about awareness is what it comes back down to.
I know one thing you guys also share that I've learned from you guys and also experienced it is how we store emotions and trauma in our body. Different, I guess, muscles and the fascia and whatnot. I came in for a treatment and they're doing certain work and pressure points in my body, and the rest of the day I felt totally different. I felt emotional, I felt sad.
It's a different person.
Like I just released, I didn't, no idea what was going on until I dug into it a lot deeper with you guys. But it's fascinating how that is.
Can you imagine if that was your first and only experience at the garage?
I know.
We'd never come back.
Never come back.
because we're not aware, and you know, when I find people that have, you know, people who have been, you know, practicing a long time spiritual, or you know, it often happens for recovering alcoholics or recovering drug addicts. If they've been a long time where they feel that they've been good. And then we do our work and there's such a contrast. They say, no, I'm perfect. And then they have this contrast. They realize they feel really good. Now they weren't feeling perfect for a decade or two. It can throw some people for a loop a little bit up front. So one of the things that we help, you know, helping people is understand the journey. You know, we weren't even open to the public until last year because there is a process where you want to have some connection to somebody to talk to as you go through this. Because exactly what just happened to you, you know, you went and it was like an emotional crash. And then what happened the next day?
Felt great.
Felt great.
Yeah.
Just let it go.
Yeah.
And if that was your only experience and you felt great. And there's a chance that you won't feel great for a day or two as well because these are long-seated emotions that are caught in our system.
So that concept might be hard to wrap. Some people might find it hard to wrap their mind around having emotions stored in the body. So
let me tell you what Harvard says.
Okay, great.
Okay, so it's funny because we have athletes and doctors from all over the world coming for treatment themselves, and what they looked at last year was analyzing where trauma is stored, and they said trauma is actually stored in the fascia. Fascia is, interestingly enough, fascia is the one thing that you cannot remove from the human body. You can remove every muscle, every nerve, every bone can be cut out. Fascia is intertwined with every part of the body. The only time that fascia leaves the body is when the body decays. So it's the one thing that you can't remove. It's 100 trillion cells. It controls in our model, it controls the whole nervous system, and it's how we interact with people. So fascia is we now know that fascia stores trauma, and the body doesn't make a difference between emotional, environmental, chemical. It's all the same to the body, physical. It doesn't matter what kind of trauma. And so the trauma that's stored in the body then has to be let go. That we say that the body remembers. And we know that trauma is subconscious, meaning that you're not actually thinking about it. Like, you're not thinking about all the things that happened in the past. So if trauma is stored in the body and it's subconscious, then by default that makes your body your subconscious and your consciousness here. And so that starts to flip the switch on the way that we think about this body again. It's not a meat suit. It's full of information. It's a lot more. And just because we don't understand it, I mean, look at all the things that we haven't understood in history. I mean, from healthcare side. In the 90s when we were, I was in the supplement business indirectly and had toothpaste and shampoos and stuff like that. And there was a product called sodium lauryl sulfide that was in the products, and you've heard of that, SLS. Now you wouldn't get anywhere near it, but back then it was told to us that the molecules were so big that it wouldn't penetrate the skin of the mouth, so we wouldn't have to worry about it. So we could just brush our teeth and spit it up. How wrong they were, but also let's go back into the 50s and 40s. 4 out of 5 doctors recommended smoking as a healthy lifestyle.
For sure,
So we're just sold a lot of bill of goods in this country especially, and usually has no relationship to health or science. It has to do with corporate interest. And that's part of what we have to find our way through. So Human Garage exists literally to help people through that mess by helping them understand their bodies first of all. And so what you guys are going through right now is the first part of the alignment process, where we're just getting everything to stack up right.
And also what I would like to add to what Human Garage is actually introducing you back to yourself. It's self-awareness. So imagine living in these bodies for as long, and then you kind of get to this stop where you're able to reflect and look at yourself again. And that could be uncomfortable from time to time for a lot of people. And it could be challenging. And so depends, what kind of person. Like if you're, have a strong will, you're going to kind of challenge yourself. Because at the end of the day, you're the only person that can really heal yourself. We can facilitate for you,
and that's a key point.
Exactly, and be the safe place for these emotions to be expressed physically, emotionally. But that's the important part, because also I do see people when they kind of run into a first problem, there's like, ooh, this is too hard, because what it is, I have to face myself. And I think for us as a human beings, it's always easier to look someone out there, and it's hard for us to say, hey, I am good enough, or yes, I can take care of this. So Human Garage is also a platform for self-education, and if you are ready to face yourself and kind of start working on yourself, this is a perfect platform for you to do so.
I was just going to say, there's a lot of traffic that goes on. If the body is a computer network, I tell people we're more like an iPad than a computer, because there's a processor, there's a display screen. That display screen, you can put information on it. It'll end up in the processor. It'll also put information back out. It's got all these electrical systems. It's a completely contained unit. So when the body, if you think of the body being like a whole computer, the brain would be the processor unit. It'd be like the CPU. So it's only running programs, and those programs are in the body. And some of them are hardwired programs, breathing, walking, things, synaptic optimized programs that allow us to function throughout the day. But some of them are programs that we write. And we write through socialization, through patterning and stuff like this. And again, this is why I like what you're doing so much, because you're helping people break through those patterns by giving them language and context of language to help them through that path. And that's really the start. The thing I want to say is that if people have the ability, and I know not everybody can get to the Human Garage right now, we're coming to you, I promise. But if you're able to get down there, what's happening is 75% of our baseline stress production is in malfunctioning biomechanics. And if we can remove the malfunction, then the brain just has more space to do other things. And that's what we really want. And part of that you guys are just starting to experience now, where all of a sudden things start to clear up.
Yeah. I know one thing that you've shared is how the body will just kind of naturally align itself, and you guys always make people do walking and different movements.
Sure.
And squatting and whatnot. Do you mind sharing people a little bit about the importance of that and why you guys do that so much?
Well, we love to squat.
We do.
Yeah. Michael, if you're out there, we are going to make America squat again. So the benefits of squatting, there's two things that were just really, they're part of how humans maintain themselves. One of them is squatting. We still do it in indigenous cultures. We still do it all over the world. Most of Asia does still. India does.
Not necessarily with weights.
Yeah, just sitting.
Just like this, right here, like this.
Well, we were in Ethiopia and everyone sits like that.
Yeah, for sure. They do in Asia. Most of Asia is. So this is more comfortable for me than sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and by doing this, a couple
it's more
things are
natural
happening.
too than sitting, because I've heard that the chair is one of the worst inventions for our
Yeah,
posture and our back.
Sitting is the new smoking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what happens when you squat? We put the lodiatic curve in the spine, the cervical curve comes back in the spine. The shoulders and arms rest, so all the way up to the SCM and the neck at rest. So the jaw is out of tension. It forces diaphragmatic breathing. You cannot breathe into your chest and shoulders when you're squatting. It's forced diaphragm. 60% of our lymph nodes are right there, and they need that movement plus the massaging of our GI tract. That's the problem we have with people not eliminating properly, is there's not enough movement. So squatting perfectly stretches the hips, and since we generate motion from our hips, we're bipeds. And if you think about this, gravity pulls through us, but we engage our muscles against gravity like a rubber band, and as we go farther away from the source, which is the ground, we create more tension. And the least amount of tension in that relationship is our hips. So we generate all motion from our hips, and so when our hips are balanced, our feet are balanced, and our shoulders are eventually balanced. So that's why squatting is so important. And walking, we're designed to walk, you know, approximately, you know, 50 to 60,000 steps a day. And, you know, I've had it in LA, we're a car-centric city. To get 10,000, I walk to and from work every day. To get 10,000 steps in. But it's hard to get 10,000 steps in because our lifestyle just doesn't accommodate. And you guys are from Vancouver.
Walking city. For sure.
Yeah, we never drive, and that's a huge thing for us. If we ever move to LA, we need to find somewhere that we can walk around, because it seems like everything.
You know, a little bit of trivia. Vancouver was the first city to approve less than one stall per unit in downtown Vancouver. And Concord Pacific. They had to go back and fight to get a 0.65 parking stalls per unit. And they said, and the city said it's not going to work, and then everybody's renting out their parking stalls, as you know.
Interesting.
Interesting little bit of tidbit for Vancouver.
One thing I want to mention, though, is that I think it's important to note that when we go to the Human Garage, it's not like we're just doing one treatment. I think you can do a la carte, you can do one thing if you want to, but it's, you guys recommend doing the 8-week package. So that's fairly important, because you guys spend about 90 minutes per session with each person. So maybe why is it 8 weeks, and why is it around 90 minutes per session?
So 8 weeks is the optimum time to allow the body to change as you make a transitional change in the body, and you walk and you squat, you go through your daily routines. 2 interactions a week for 8 weeks is really what settles down everything. Now, of course, 40% of our clients come from other countries. They come from the UK, from Japan, from all through the East Coast, and we have to modify those programs. And so what we do when people travel is we give them a lot more, we get the base workout, and we give them a lot more homework. So they're just expected to do a lot more of the rehab stuff, which here, if you're here, you roll up into the garage and we'll do your rehab for you. If you're flying from another place, then chances are you probably have the incentive to do the work, and we modify it. But if we do not do the fascial work, if we do not do the neurological-based rehabilitation, we just end up going back and doing the same thing a year from now. And you know, people need to hear this. They really do need to understand that if you're going back to your chiropractor, your massage therapist, your trainer, and you're doing the same treatment over and over and over again, something's not working. You know, there has to be an end result to this. And it's been years, and we have had very few problems that we can't resolve when we take a step back and take a look at them. And I think that needs to be applied, and people need to understand that, because just going back doing the same thing over again is actually not even, it's making it worse.
You become so dependent on it. And what you guys do is
create independence.
And just kind of going back, you guys don't just address the symptom, you're actually dealing with the root problem, the root cause, and educating people on that, so that, you know, they don't always have to, you know, come back. Although I think once you've been there, you know, it's great for that next level of optimization and whatnot too.
But that's the next level of optimization. You know what's funny is that when you get all the big problems out of the way, your brain doesn't go, hooray, I got all the problems. It goes, okay, I got all these small problems. But they seem as big to you at the time. And it took me about 2 years of just working through the small little issues. And then all of a sudden there was no issues left. That's a weird feeling. I spent my whole life in pain, and all of a sudden there's no issues left.
So I know for a lot of people that are watching or listening to this, it's maybe not realistic for them to all come and see you guys at the Human Garage. Do you have any practical things that people could do, whether at home in their own city? You know, obviously there are different specialists they could go to, but are just general advice that they can maybe do to help better align themselves, their body, their mind.
So part of
toxicity, I would address.
Like part of it is really toxicity and hydration. Those are the ones that seem to plague everybody. And athletes, to get that body that they think they want, they think they have to be that dehydrated to make it look that good, and that's not true. So if we could help people understand the hydration aspects, that would be, and hydration, if you're out there, does not mean drinking more water. Athletes are usually overhydrated, and means that they take the mineralization out of their body, and the body can't hold the water. That's one of the big ones.
And
the next one.
So they're flushing calcium and different minerals because they're drinking too much water. And so in that case, would they balance it out a little bit more by having?
So let's say so if you should be salting your water if you're drinking a lot. If you're drinking half your body weight in ounces, you probably don't have enough sodium in your diet. You need Himalayan pink salt or Celtic sea salt or something like that. You want to get a good mineral base. There's lots of good minerals that are out there. And if you don't know exactly which ones, it can't hurt to take a mineralized base or something and you can buy good minerals. I'm not talking about the ones that are hard crushed into a tablet. Those are not good minerals. Those are usually just coming out the other side. So that's one of the strongest things you can do, because if you're hydrated, a lot of the problems, and I'm telling you right now, 80% of the diagnosis people come to the garage with today, we're medicating them for the symptoms of dehydration. So if we can just get people hydrated, and then that's one thing. Then the next thing is helping people start to move into, if people can get into a squat. Now, I know it's not reasonable for everybody to do this right away, but there are ways to get there, and leaning your back against a wall is one way. If you could do that 3 times a day for even 2 to 3 minutes, it'll get easier and easier for you to do it. And
toxicity, I think that's the one that I would want to address.
Toxicity?
Toxicity.
Yeah, sure.
I think, just being conscious and aware also where you're getting your food from, what kind of food, is that GMO or try
GMOs, like pesticides and herbicides are messing us up. There is just
it's a silent killer.
And, and I got to tell you, because listen, we've been health focused for many years, and 2 years ago I was still, I don't like the organic apples, they're not as crispy, I'll take that one. That kind of thought process. It's an all or nothing game. There's no in-betweens. It takes about 3 months to get all the toxicity and the pesticides out. When you do it, once you get it out, your life has changed. It will really change. And like, what the heck? I mean, 50 years ago, there were no chemicals. So all of a sudden, we put the onus on the organic people to make them pay for the right to do something that's been around for thousands of years. It should be the other way around.
Also, I would like to advise to, listeners to educate yourself how to read labels. Make sure, especially for ladies out there, we use beauty products, and those are the ones that are saturated with additional chemicals. And I know we cannot control all the chemicals, but we can start choosing what really is going to go on our body, in our body.
If it's on the body, if you wouldn't take it in the body, don't put it on the body. That's really.
And the scary thing is, people still deny that what you put on your skin goes into your bloodstream.
So the skin is the largest organ. Average male is 31 pounds. The skin is the most absorbent and natural. I mean, mechanics. Let's go back. 50 years ago, mechanics would put barrier creams on their hands when they would touch certain toxicities, so that they wouldn't get it in their body. Now, we do this with mechanics. We do this with people that are working at chemical plants and stuff like this. And then all of a sudden we say to you, the consumer, no, it's okay.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, how does it make sense?
But also, what we see affect men and women, but also for men, it's lowering testosterone. So that's a big one, especially younger generation,
which
having
is
big issue.
Crazy. We're talking men in their 30s having low testosterone counts, 200 and 300, 400. And mine was 5 years ago, mine was 200, and today it's over 900.
And it goes back just to the awareness, because a lot of people that are, again, looking at every part of your lifestyle. I know whether you're, one thing that can affect your testosterone is plastics, a lot of drinking your water in plastic bottles, to putting on the chemicals and a lot of sunscreens on their skin. There's just so many of those different things that you have to be aware of. And thankfully, there are companies that make great products out there that are organic and natural and GMO free. You just have to find them, but I mean, there are a lot of them out there that are more available today than ever before.
The obvious ones are not the problems. It's the ones that you think are healthy. Some of the ones you want to look for are things like natural flavors. We talked about that earlier. Wait, you actually gave a number. It was like,
well, I don't know for sure, but I recall reading something around 1,400 to 4,000.
So you're saying natural flavors on a label, when people will see that when they buy a product.
Yeah, a nutrition label.
It's not natural.
It's not natural.
That can be 1,400 different
chemicals.
Chemicals, including GMOs and pesticides and sodium lauryl sulfide, all kinds of other crazy things.
And especially bringing awareness to parents. I do have a lot of passion and compassion for younger generation, especially younger parents too, to educate yourself, because children when you have formulas and, you know, school lunches, it's huge. If your child can start like
control your child's food,
exactly, with a good start, you give them the best gift ever. You know, taking away soy formula for boys and all these different things, like just educate yourself to the best knowledge when it comes to
we've gone in this
children,
world. We've gone in this world, and we've you know, we are so busy. There's so much misinformation out there, and that misinformation is very purposeful. Chemical companies, pharmaceutical companies they've paid for lots of bad science to say things that aren't true.
That's funded the studies.
I gave you a couple of them earlier, like the toothpaste sodium lauryl sulfide wouldn't penetrate. Smoking was good for you. I mean, we've been sold bills of goods our entire lives, and the issue what she says about the kids is take this seriously. I mean, even things like this latest one, we're talking about vaccinations, and that's a hot topic. I mean,
for many years.
You know, it's such a hot topic because the threat on the backside is your child dying. You know, and that's just not true. I mean, we do have a lot of evidence. I know there's one thing that we can prove. We can prove that neither side can prove that the other one is right or wrong. We do know that there's no proof evidence either way. The last big outbreak we had was in Disneyland with measles, and half the kids that got it were vaccinated, half that weren't. The question is, forget about the vaccination and forget about the bacterias and the viruses. Take a look at the ingredients in there and the amount of, let's say, mercury. We have people here, they're like, where is that fish coming from? I'm not going to eat that fish. It's coming from the Pacific. I'm not going to eat that fish. Meanwhile, they're going and putting mercury in there because of mercury, and they're putting mercury in with every one of the shots that they're getting. It just doesn't make sense. People need to step back and just take a look at the bigger picture, and then we're here to help make that point. It's not, and people do make their own decisions at the end of the day, but we want them to make informed decisions.
Because especially like when we test, you know, we can test mom and we can test children as well. So everybody in a household would have very similar biomarkers. So we also notice when we fix the mom, the whole family gets taken care of. The whole family gets fixed. For sure. And especially children.
Take care of mama.
So
when mama's happy, everybody is happy.
Good tips.
I want to transition to talk about some of the products you guys have. This is curcumin that we started taking. This is something that you give people when they come in for their treatments and whatnot. And a lot of people have gotten amazing benefits, including us. We take usually around 6 capsules a day right now. But
Isn't it crazy how good it works?
What is this product? Tell people a little bit about it. And this is something that for those that are watching or listening, we can have a link to these for you guys to be able to check out as well. So
the Human Garage, what we do is bring products and services to light that enhance people's ability to interact with their world in an aligned fashion. And so one of the biggest problems is inflammation. So basically everything external to us is a stressor, and our response to that stressor is stress. Stress response always has one thing in common. It always fires stress hormones, which are all inflammatory. So basically you can go down the road and say stress equals inflammation. And so our daily routines of just walking through our days, we're creating inflammation. Now we've gotten a little bit too far because our lifestyles are so out of balance that we need something more aggressive than just natural food. And the challenge that we have is like turmeric. Curcumin is the active ingredient in turmeric. This one's really interesting because this is the scientist is from Vancouver.
Okay.
And I competed on a stage with him back 30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I made a comment. I said, one day I'm gonna meet that guy. It's Franco Cavallari. And so interestingly enough, what he did is he had irritable bowel, so IBS, ulcerative colitis. Sorry, he had ulcerative colitis, and they one day right before the North Americans wanted to rush him in and remove his colon, and he said, "No way! Let me take a step back." And he noticed these patterns of when he felt better was because he's a scientist, so he's documenting everything he eats, and he noticed that when he was taking curcumin, he felt better. So he spent the next 10 years in the lab trying to figure out why. The interesting thing about this is that the stuff that you read on curcumin that's out there right now, the science is outdated. It's 10 to 20 years old, and most of it's been proven not realistic. Even things like how we activating with black pepper and stuff like that. So this is actually the third curcumin, which is called BDMC, bis-demoxycurcumin, and it appears at 50%. And right now, people will get it at 50%, but in the future, only practitioners or professional sports teams will have 50, and everybody else will have a 30 version of it, which is a reduced
So this is really potent.
Yeah. So one of these has the same active ingredient, curcumin. Like you go get Theracumin or any of your curcumins, the best ones, Thorn or anybody that's out there.
Yeah.
If you go buy theirs, it has points. The third curcuminoid appears at 0.03%. This is 50% the third curcumin.
Wow.
So this would be the equivalent of taking 125 of the curcumins you have at home.
Yeah.
That's why you're feeling so good.
Oh yeah. It's powerful.
And I can speak, my mom has arthritis and I gave her this and she feels, lots of, not so many aches and pains and that was the only difference. I didn't give her anything else, just that.
Yeah,
and within a week she felt different.
Yeah, anything that's arthritis, psoriatic, even autoimmune disease like rheumatoid arthritis, things like Raynaud's and stuff like that, where they have coldness. Any time that you have compression or inflammatory related issues, this blocks a heat shock protein called MSK1. I don't want to get too technical, but basically it takes inflammation out at the cellular level. If it's out at the cellular level, it's everywhere through your body.
Yeah.
That's why it's one of a few products that we have that when you take it, you feel it immediately.
Yeah.
And by the way, so we just got NSF certified with this, so it'll be used in all the pro teams. Starting with NHL, we've already been working with the Dodgers and stuff like that.
That's cool. And is that why you guys use it in your treatments too? Is because when you're working on someone's body, there's going to be maybe
30%.
responses?
We went from 2-hour treatment to 90-minute treatment based on giving somebody 2 of those.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, and
cool.
and you could feel it right away.
Yeah.
Also on depression, it works amazing.
Oh,
We
really?
had some reports, digestion and depression.
Yeah. So where's we don't have emotions in our brains. We have them in our body, and our brain experiences them. So when we have depression, it's coming from somewhere. Usually it's the gut.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So if you have inflammation in your gut, that can be causing.
So let me give you a real example. If you get bloated stomach, you get really gassy or bloated, and it's kind of painful.
Yeah.
What do you feel up here?
Yeah.
Agitated,
Foggy.
Yeah, you feel that way. So when you clear this, you automatically feel good up there. If you've ever had a virus in your stomach, I mean, one of those ones where you can't even sip water or anything, everything you take you want to vomit. I remember this as a kid, and I remember feeling, why do I feel so bad here, but I feel it up here? That was one of my first things as a kid. I remember saying that there's some connection to my body I don't understand.
So the less inflammation out of the body, the more clarity we'll have.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's the best. That's the best benefit.
We tracked 10 cases of that were medicated 20 people are medicated for over 10 years with SSRIs or mood stabilizers. That's your Prozac, Lexapro, stuff like that. And 18 out of the 20 within 3 months had titrated or dropped their meds to almost 0 or completely got rid of them without any other intervention. And so we know it works, and we know it works powerful for more than just the physical aspects. For me, I love what it does to my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I highly recommend you vouch for this.
I want to talk about this. I like this stuff. So this is called BA Keto Fuel.
Yeah.
Teach us, what is this?
Okay, so there's only 2 patents in the world that exist on exogenous ketones. All of them come from Florida State, and that's all the products you see out there now, Keto OS and everything like that. They require 4 times the amount of BHB or salt, and that's a lot of salt you're putting in your system. But they also require you to take a third-party fat source, which is MCT, and that's their primary driver. Butyric acid is a BA. Is a short-chain triglyceride which passes the blood-brain barrier the same way that MCT does, but it has an interesting side effect. Over half the population has gastrointestinal stress with MCT oil. No MCT, no distress. Now, the interesting thing about it is butyric acid naturally occurs in our system. It's used to make butter. It's like if you vomit, that's why that smell is like a butter smell, like a Parmesan cheese. Well, that's the only bad part about it. It doesn't smell that bad though. Yeah. And what happens is that the butyric acid activates nutritional ketosis. So it puts your body into ketogenesis, is what we call. Whereas your body is consuming its own fat for nutritional health rather than burning a third-party fat.
Right.
And so if you're using it for weight loss or nutrition, anything other than sporting events, it works a lot better because you're activating your own fat. you know, and Ben Greenfield, when he uses that, he says it's like rocket fuel.
Yeah.
Because it gives you that constant energy. And you felt that,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So I definitely noticed that I get a lot of energy from it, but the fat burning is what really entices me, because I mean, we're always trying to find the best way to kind of lose fat, and this seems to really kick into that.
So you don't want to lose fat, you want to give it away. Because if you lose it, you're going to get it back, okay?
Right.
I have this theory that the whole world's weight is contained and imbalanced. If one person loses it, somebody has to gain it. So I'm just happy to give mine away.
Ties into the whole alignment.
Yeah, ties into the whole alignment model. So here are some things that you should, the interesting thing is when you're using it as fuel, and if you eat a ketogenic diet, it makes it easy, because being ketogenic, it's tough, because you just like one bit of sugar, you're out of there.
Yeah.
And so for what people that don't know about that, that's more of a high-fat diet, is kind of the
Low
ketogenic
carb.
diet, so that your body's burning fat for energy versus the carbohydrates, right?
So when your body uses fat and converts it, the byproduct of burning your own fat is
lactic acid.
Is oxygen,
Okay.
and there's no lactic acid. So what happens is the lactic acid is what makes your muscles sore, and you know, like the next day you get that, and then 2 days later you got that delayed onset muscle soreness. You eat ketogenic, you take this, you got none of that. So the weird part is after you use this and you work out, you get used to it, then go try working out without it. Because you'll go, oh man, my muscles are sore again. I forgot what that felt like.
Yeah, one thing you said also is taking this as a pre-workout with BCAAs will give you an extra boost as well, right?
For sure, because you'll get about 6 hours on that.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be on a ketogenic diet to actually get the benefits of this.
Correct, because it'll immediately kick your body into ketosis, and then the BA kicks in. It lasts about 4 to 6 hours. It's just a good way to help you maintain a ketogenic diet, and it's a great product. Just it's great to it helps clear the mind as well. That's another one of those.
But would you say it's best to have it, you know, without having sugars or carbs? It's best to have it maybe with fat, or just on an empty stomach?
What are people that are looking to lose weight or give it away? What is common is sugar, carbs are the hard things to control. So you have BA as a natural, butyric acid is a natural appetite suppressant. So you'll notice that you don't crave sugars. You crave protein and vegetables. Now for me, I'm not a guy who craves vegetables. So when I first started taking it, I'm like, this is weird. Give me some more broccoli.
And it's actually so sweet. It kind of tastes like a dessert, like a dessert in my mouth. So I don't even want to have treats or anything, because I feel like I already get it out of the drink.
For sure, and it's designed to be that way, exactly that.
Yeah.
So these are things, and you guys have got the chance to try another one, which will be online right away.
Yes.
Our libido tea.
Yes.
That's like very, very naughty. So tell us about your experience.
Yeah. Well. So we,
sure.
Yeah, we didn't really know what to expect with that, because I've never heard of a libido tea before. I didn't know that that was a thing. So it's just a bunch of herbs, right?
So segue, libido tea is meant for male and female, for both the desire and also the blood circulation that's required for that intimate little moment that you want to have. And hopefully it's a longer than little moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, we really enjoy it.
Well, I mean, definitely, I mean, I guess just being more in that flow state, I found is a huge benefit from it, and just being more out of your head in that flow state, you're able to just...
It makes everything feel
is
better.
Amplified. So
Amplified,
touch,
that's the word.
Any type of pleasure is
and
amplified.
Prolonged.
And then the actual orgasm itself is a lot more intense.
Yeah.
So that's
my parting line for that is always just like, if you ever thought you could die from an orgasm, this is it.
Oh yeah, that's the best way to die.
Yeah. So we definitely recommend that one. That's definitely fun if you want to spice things up. We just did a relationship series for Valentine's Day, and that's a great addition if you want to have some fun.
Yeah, we'll definitely promote that product too.
Yeah, we'll do a different video on that.
We have a whole series of both patented products and non-patented products. We use it as a testing, because we see people in a way that people don't see them, and we see them from both the neurology, the chemical aspects, the physiology of the body, their emotional state, and we can say when somebody does this, it has this outcome. And so part of the Human Garage is now our shift this year is to start with our we call them garagers, our people that have graduated through our program, is they're out hunting for ways to help other people that are in the same spot, find good places to eat, clothes to wear, activities that engage. And that's how we found you guys. I mean, what you're doing is literally a vital service, because that has been taken out of the education system. You're putting back in what was supposed to be there and has been malevolently taken out. So, and that's we want to promote. We want to promote that same aspect.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I wonder, you have a question?
So I just wanted to touch on the breath classes that you do. And I wanted to emphasize, because it's very important. Most of us, we're not really taking in enough oxygen. And you are an expert on that. So maybe share a little bit about that and why it's important and how it can help with these treatments.
Definitely. Well, what I have realized also, just being aligned. Now, I haven't, this is first time that I've been teaching after 3 years, and I have to say, at first I was kind of like, ooh, can I do this? But now looking back, I'm teaching so much better because of the alignment and intention and awareness, and also passing on, the knowledge and wisdom to our students. It's so much better, and they're receptive so much more. So the energy is completely different. So, definitely alignment, connecting with breath. It's kind of like a final touch on top of everything else. So breath is the most intimate part of our being, and I think we forget that. So I just want to kind of like invite everyone to just stop for a moment and take a couple of deep breaths in and out. I mean, that's the life force, that's prana, that's something that animates us and move us. And so we just need to kind of develop a little bit more intimate connection with that breath of life that I love to call. And yes, at Human Garage we do have these amazing classes that are really activating your body, not just stress reduction, but adjusting your pH. We're just learning how important it is to be in the parasympathetic nervous system, which means like connect to your breath through your nose instead of like mouth breathe. So when you find yourself that your mouth breathe, know that you're producing extra cortisol, and especially like you want to lose weight, think about the breath.
Mouth breathing and losing weight don't go hand in hand, by the way.
So I'm so passionate and love to talk about this, but I would love to invite everyone, to come and visit us and experience personally. It's just magic that happens when we all come together. The other part too is community. After everyone's been through protocol and through alignment, biochemical alignment, then when you come and you sit together with like-minded people and you take that breath and you start also using sounds. We use hand posture, which we call mudras. So it's a most beautiful experience that I would love to share with the world.
Yeah, amazing.
There's a lot of little things that are little body hacks. You see us using them at the garage. In 2018, we're going to start talking about these publicly, but things that make things better. For years, it's like when we started working with kids, Nella would show them a simple little trick of putting your thumb there and your finger over.
It's also good for panic attacks. So just
putting your thumb
here
on top of your middle finger on the knuckle, and then closing it off.
Just like right here.
It's right here.
On top of,
and then closing it off.
And just close
so this is what, if you ever think of little kids when they're scared, look at that, watch this. That's what they'll do. And watch when you see a president speak, especially like Obama, back in they always go like this.
Right.
And Kennedy.
Right.
There are reasons why we do certain things with our hands, and we found all these little hacks. Like our Olympic runners, they run with their hands in a certain position to create leverage and reduce friction in the corner. So we're using all these little things like fascial connections and stuff like that. And these are all of our secret tips and tricks.
Yeah.
But you're going to start seeing them come out this year, which is
cool.
really cool.
I just love that. You guys are you're everything. You guys you share everything, and it's definitely a one-stop shop there. You guys, we've learned so much, and we've experienced so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a great pleasure.
What I also love too is just the moment that we met you guys, how much you guys care.
Yeah.
And one thing I respect and admire is you guys truly want to serve, make a huge difference. You guys want to make it affordable for everyone too.
That's actually, can I address that?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny because you take a look on our social media, you see celebrity, professional athlete, U.S. Olympic run team. You see all this, and it looks like it's really expensive, and it really confuses people when they come in. If you were to go get a chiropractor, a physical therapist, a trainer, a fascial worker, do a lab test, have a naturopathic doctor, a nutritionist, and you do all of these things together, and you were to do it in insurable, billable services, you'd spend about 12 to 15 grand, and your copay would be about 4 to 5 grand. And our entire cost of treatment is like 40% less than the copay would be if you went and did this all yourself. And you know, we say that we are the most effective physical treatment in the world because when the most valuable people in the world have problems, they come to us. We're also the least cost of any organized system anywhere. And the reason why we do that, and that's why these things are important, we're not here to push products. But selling these, we make no money on treatment, and that's by design. Our goal is to always make treatment affordable. We've taken all the pain out of it. Right now we're open 7 days a week, 8 to 8. Pretty soon 6 a.m. to midnight. And we're organizing in other cities as we start to expand. The way that we make money is by selling our intellectual property, certifying doctors and practitioners and PTs in our modalities. The other one is selling products that are patented or unique that meet our standards. And so the idea is that we want to change the way that healthcare is delivered and give everybody an equal opportunity. And the only way that we could do this is to reorganize the system this way. And we've done this all completely outside of the medical system. So we've been able to do this in a way that allows us to practice without a diagnosis. We're there just to assess people constantly and help them with whatever they need to get through. And as you've seen, you've been there, sometimes it's just not the normal thing. You walk in there, it doesn't look like a PT or a medical office. It looks like we're having fun, and we are.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's hard for us to explain this over video, but it's not until you go to the Human Garage and you meet Garry and Anela, and you guys are just so heart-centered, and I don't know any other company that acts the way that you guys do, and everyone who works there too. Everyone, you know, I ask people, how did you get into this? And everyone has their own story, and they all were brought there energetically. And it's really a beautiful place, and I highly recommend going. If you're in LA, definitely check it out.
And if you're coming in too, we do remote consultations for people. There's a lot of times we can help people remotely, especially with things like lab work. Because you can do nutraceuticals, supplementation, adjusting people's chemistry. We can do that remotely. And we work with a lot of people over Skype, depending on the situation. One of the things is that there is people, you'll know that we have a fairly big waiting list, but if they come on and they use your name in the reference bar, what we'll do is we'll accelerate them to the top of the wait list. And what we just want to do is we want to take care of the people who are actively engaging their lives and learning and taking care and making themselves better. So we can do that to accelerate them to the front of the wait list.
Thank you.
So how can people find out more about the Human Garage?
It's real simple. It's just online. You know, we've only had a website for 1 year.
Oh, wow.
So it's www.humangarage.net. And then our social media, it's Human Garage LA, and Facebook, I think it's just Human Garage.
Cool.
And yeah, you'll be able to see lots of changes this year because we've been underground for a long time, and we're just starting to pop our head up right now.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we're definitely happy to share you guys, promote you guys.
Thank you so much.
No, I just wanted to add one more time. We're just so blessed to have met you, and thank you for doing this interview with us so that we can share this and reach more people.
And thank you for providing the opportunity. You guys you're doing something that really needs to be done, and very few people are doing it. And even though the ones that are doing it aren't doing it well, you've taken seriousness, you've taken attention, you've done what we've done, is you put your life out there in order to be a demonstration to people. And that's a big job, because your life is now an open book, and that may seem luxurious and glorious, but there's a lot of times when you just I don't want my life to be an open book, and you guys are doing it anyways. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So guys, check out the Human Garage, humangarage.net. We'll link in the description of this video. We'll link to the different products that they have here as well. And if you guys are in LA, check them out. You guys could probably use Project Life Mastery or Lux Health if you sign up to the website. And then that way you guys can get in there a lot faster. So thank you guys so much. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys again soon. Thank you.